Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. I'm about to share you a message about the 7 dimensions of God. It is about the 7 dimension. One is the sovereign presence of God. Second, the manifested presence of God. Third, the awesome presence of God. Then fourth, the indwelling presence of Christ. Number 6, the heavenly presence of Christ. 7, the person of God, Jesus and the Holy Spirit. So ito po yung 7 dimensions of God presence. Isa-isahin ko po ito, i-share sa inyo para maging bahagi ng buhay natin. Do you know, we need to have this knowledge and revelation and experience the presence of God in our life. While living here on earth, we need the presence of God. When Joseph was taken and sold into Egypt, sold as a slave in Egypt, one thing Joseph had is the Lord was with Joseph. God was with Joseph. Though he was in a strange country, he was stranger in the land. He was sold as a slave. But he was a prosperous man. Why? Because the Lord was with Joseph. God was with Joseph. If we want to break through, if we want to prosper, if we want to have that life that break every limitation, if you want to have that life that overcomes, we need to have God's presence in our life. During the time of Moses, in Exodus chapter 33, verse 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, meron pong request si Moses sa Lord. Nasabi ni Moses, Lord, show me your ways. Yan po isang request ni Moses. Pangalawa, Lord, let not your presence depart from us. Third, Lord, show me your glory. Do you know, Moses leads the people from Egypt into the promised land. Going into the promised land, there are a lot of enemy. There's a lot of Hittites, Hivites, Perizzites, Amorites, all the ites are waiting there. When they enter into the land, these ites are all waiting to war with them. So, Moses, as they enter into the promised land, Moses says to God, Lord, if you will not go with us, if your presence will not go with us, carry us up. Carry not up hence. Because how will the people know that your favor is with us if your presence will not go with us? Do you know, in Exodus chapter 18, meron pong visitation ng Diyos na nangyari kay Abraham. In Exodus 18, and the Lord, verse 1, appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes, and looked, 3 men stood by him, and when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself to the ground, and said, My Lord, if I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. So, while Abraham was standing in the door tent, he was looking outside. At the same time, he was aware of what's happening inside the tent. Meron pong nag-appear sa kanya. Sa madaling salita, ito po ay ang ating Panginoon dumaan doon. Dali-dali po sinalubong sila ni Abraham, siya ni Abraham at Abraham bowed to him. Nagbow si Abraham and he said, verse 3, My Lord, if I have found favor in your sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. So, ibig sabihin doon, if the presence of God will stay with us, will go with us, then we have found favor in the sight of God. Do you know, when the Ark of the Covenant was in the house of Obed-Edom, for 3 months, the presence of God was in the house of Obed-Edom. The Lord caused Obed-Edom to prosper. So, habang nandyan yung presensya ng ating Panginoong Diyos. So, the presence of God will allow us to be a prosperous man, will allow us to have that victory. In 1 John 4, verse 4, Greater is He that is in me than he that is in the world. And if the presence of God is with us, if God is with us, who can be against us? So ito po yung isang kailangan natin sa buhay natin. We need to have God's presence. Do you know, nung pinanganak si Jesus Christ, sabi ng anghel, you shall call His name Emmanuel, meaning God with us. So, while we are living in this natural world, we need also to have the presence of God in our life. If we want to walk in the dimension of the Spirit, if we want to walk with God, we must have that knowledge of the presence of God. And that presence of God at different level, have different dimension. There are 7. So, kailangan po natin malaman, kailangan natin matutunan, kailangan natin maintindihan. Not just know, not just understand, but we must come into the place of experiencing the divine presence of God in our life. So, number 1 dimension of the presence of God is the sovereign presence of God. We all know about the sovereign presence of God. It is God present everywhere at the same time. God is omnipresent. Whether we feel it or not feel it, hindi naramdaman natin o hindi natin naramdaman, God is present everywhere. Whether we are conscious or not conscious about the presence of God, it does not mean, if you are not conscious, it does not mean God is not present. Though we are not conscious about it, we do not know about it, we don't feel it, but still, God is present everywhere at the same time. Minsan sabihin natin, malayo ang Diyos. Minsan lubog tayo sa problema. There are a lot of circumstances. There are a lot of problems that we have in our life. It does not mean na kung nalubog tayo sa circumstances, nalubog tayo sa problema, it does not mean God is so far away. Hindi nga lang natin naramdaman ng Diyos, but God is still present. Nandyan po ang ating Panginoong Diyos. He knows what we are going through. He knows what problem we are into. He knows what circumstances we are into because He is present everywhere. In Psalms 139, 7 to 12, nakasulat po dito. Psalms 139. Where can I go from your presence? Verse 7. Psalms 139 verse 7. Where shall I go from your presence? Where shall I flee from thy presence? Ulitin ko, where shall I go from your spirit? Where shall I flee from thy presence? Verse 7. Verse 8, if I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning, and dwell in the uttermost part of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. Yea, the darkness hideth not from thee, but the darkness shineth as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to them. So there's no difference whether it's darkness or light. You hide in darkness, still God is present everywhere. Nandyan pa rin yung presence ng ating Panginoon. Kahit saan ka magtago, God is still there. So, we must be conscious of God's presence. We must know that He is present everywhere. And He saw everything that we do while living in this physical body, while walking in this physical world. God saw us wherever we are because He is present everywhere at the same time. So, whether we feel it or not feel it, God is present. Minsan, tumingin tayo sa dami ng problema, dami ng mga bagay na nakikita natin sa mundo. Nalubog tayo sa kaiisip, sa mga circumstances. But if we know, and we know, and we know, God is present, He is there with us, then we have that in our inward part. Because God is with us, we will be able to rise up. Meron pong man of God na nagsabi, if you look at the bigness of your problem, then you will see God na lumiliit ang ating Panginoong Diyos. Dahil sa nakatingin ka na malaki ang problema mo. If we have that consciousness of God, so conscious that we saw God as sovereign, we saw God that is powerful, we saw God that when whatever situation we have, His hand is not shortened, His ear is not heavy that He cannot hear us, because we have that revelation of God's presence. Then we will be able to overcome things here in this world. If God is with us, who can be against us? We are more than conqueror in Christ Jesus. Anong sabi ng Diyos kay Joshua? Sa Joshua chapter 1. Kasi nung time na yun, Moses ay namatay na. Then God raised up Joshua na siyang magpatuloy ng mission ni Moses na dadalhin yung mga tao papasok sa promised land. Anong sabi ng Diyos kay Joshua? Joshua 1:6, be strong and of good courage, for unto these people shall thou divide for an inheritance the land which I swear unto their fathers to give them. Only be strong and very courageous. Dito po, tuloy natin. Anong sabi ng Lord kay Joshua? Verse 7. Be bold. Verse 9. Joshua 1 verse 9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For the Lord thy God is with you whithersoever thou goest. So, God told Joshua, be bold and of good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For the Lord thy God is with you wherever you go. Ganon din po yan sa atin. We must be bold. We must be strong. We must have that courage to rise up. Because wherever we go, God is with us. So, number one, God is present everywhere. Number one dimension of God's presence is the sovereign presence of God. The omnipresence of God. Be bold, be strong, for the Lord thy God is with you. Pangalawa po na dimension of God's presence is the manifested presence of God. Yung una, the omnipresence of God, whether we feel it or not feel it, the presence of God is everywhere. Ito po yung second, the manifested presence of God is the presence of God ay na-sense po natin physically. Na-sense natin yung presence ng Lord. Na-sense natin yung kanyang physical presence. Yung physical presence po natin ng ating Panginoon Diyos, He chose it to reveal to whomever He desires. Do you know, during the time of Moses, in Exodus chapter 3, Exodus 3, ito po yung manifested presence of God. It is the first time that Moses had that encounter with God. In these last days, we need to have encounter with God. Those people who have encountered God ay nagkaroon po ng matinding pagbabago sa kanilang buhay. So what happened? Moses stayed in the backside of the desert for 40 years. Nothing happened until he came into the place of having an encounter with God. So nagkaroon sila ng encounter with God. The manifested presence of God was in that place where Moses was. Exodus 3, verse 1. Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burned. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him out of the midst of the bush, and said unto Moses, Moses. And he said, Here am I. Verse 5, and he said, Draw not nigh hither, but put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place where on thou stands is holy ground. So where the presence of God is, where the manifested presence of God is, the ground will become holy. So Moses sensed the presence of God. The presence of God was revealed to Moses in that time. Do you know, when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was thrown into the fiery furnace, heated for 7 times, because they refused to bow down to the statue that Nebuchadnezzar built, that lahat ng mga under sa kanyang empire, pag nagkaroon na ng sound of music, sounding of the music, lahat sila ay sasamba, lahat sila ay yuyuko, At nagdeklara si Nebuchadnezzar kung hindi sila yuyuko doon sa statwa na pinagawa ni King Nebuchadnezzar, itatapon sila into that fiery furnace heated 7 times. What happened? The three refused to bow to the statue that King Nebuchadnezzar made. That's why that three, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, were thrown in the fiery furnace, heated 7 times. But what happened? While they were in the inside, hindi man lang sila nasunog. At nakita ni Nebuchadnezzar na may kasama sila. 3 ang tinapon, pero merong isa na nandoon. Do you know, sabi nga ni Nebuchadnezzar, nakita niya na yung pang-apat ay parang anak, parang Diyos na nandoon. Buksan natin yun, ha? Buksan natin sa Daniel para makita natin. Alam nyo, kailangan natin talaga magbukas ng Bible natin. Huwag natin pabayaan na hindi nabubuksan ng Bible natin sa isang araw. Buksan po natin at basahin natin. And learn from our forefather that encountered God in the past. How they were able to rise up above pressure, above circumstances because the presence of God was with them. So dito po, Daniel chapter 3 verse 23. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, was astonished, and rose up in haste and spake, and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. He answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. So during the time when they were thrown into the fiery furnace, the presence of God was manifested in that fiery furnace. He is the 4th person in that fiery furnace. Do you know, if we walk closely with our God, if we have that life, that passion for God, there will be a season in our life na kahit na maraming circumstances, maraming trials, maraming situation sa buhay natin, in that situation na akala natin grabe na yung apoy, if we walk closely, relate closely, commune with God every day in our life, kahit na dumaan tayo sa maraming pagsubok, kahit dumaan tayo sa maraming problema, maraming circumstances, kahit na we will be surrounded sa mga pandemic dito sa lupa, we will not be burned because the 4th person will be with us. Just like during the time in Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. During the time God manifests Himself in the midst of that fiery furnace, then Nebuchadnezzar saw the 4th person. Sabi niya, He's like unto the Son of God. Who knows? While we are worshiping, who knows while we are praying alone, who knows while we commune and worship God, who knows that time will be a time of encounter. God's manifested presence will come and we'll be able to sense it, feel it physically in our life. In this world, sa mundo po na ito, na there's a lot of conspiracy, there's a lot of things that happen, we need the presence of God. If God is with us, who can be against us? So, first, the omnipresence of God, the sovereign presence of God. God is present everywhere. Second is the manifested presence of God.